DevilNeverCry.
What is up everybody, it is me DevilNeverCry, and in this video we're going to be going over 5 top tips for new players to conquer Babylon's Fall. The first tip I can give you, one that's actually quite easy but does have a big impact, is the remapping of the controls. We all know action games live and die by their control scheme. A good control scheme should be fairly accessible, not cause your hands to cramp up after extended gameplay, and of course should allow you to react quite easily to what's happening on screen. The first thing I did when playing Babylon's Fall is I remapped the dodge button to circle and the lock on to R1. That's just the control scheme I'm used to using through years of playing other games like DMC or Bayonetta. It just makes sense to me. The dodge button is circled because my thumb is already in that general vicinity, and I can continue using the right and left triggers to continue attacking whilst also dodging at the same time. But I do suggest you play around with the control scheme and experiment. The game is fairly remappable when it comes to commands, so play around and see what works for you. Tip number 2 is using your Gideon arms to their full capacity. In Babylon's Fall, the player has the ability to use spectral weapons thanks to the Gideon's coffin that is seen floating over their back. The player can attack with the weapon they actually wield in their hands using the square and triangle buttons for light and heavy attacks respectively. At the same time, they can use L2 and R2 to attack with these spectral weapons. What's mostly important to know though is that you can use these spectral weapons to constantly attack. You can use the Gideon arms whilst you're dodging, whilst you're getting up in a recovery animation, or even whilst you're attacking. That's right, you can attack whilst you attack. Essentially, don't be afraid to continuously use your Gideon arms, otherwise they'll just be sitting there unused. Tip number 3, parrying and perfect dodging. As with most Platinum Games titles, the combat allows you to perfectly dodge and of course follow up with a parry. What's important to note in this game is that enemies will give you a distinct visual flare just before attacking, signifying that you should now be dodging. And if you time your dodge just right, literally at the last moment, you should see some particle effects fly off your character as the game slows down. This is a signifier that you should now parry. Hit any of the attack buttons and your character will go into a standard parry animation which does added damage. And of course, it should be noted that you can indeed also use your spectral weapons during your parry and dodge maneuvers to gain extra DPS. Tip number 4 is combat rankings and how you can make the most of them in Babylon's Fall. Whenever you enter a quest, sometimes you'll be forced to go into a combat encounter titled Chapters in this game. After defeating all of the enemies in any given encounter, you'll be given a combat ranking that looks at specific actions that you took during combat. For example, you'll be ranked on how quickly you finished the encounter, how many times you parried, how many times you did perfect dodges, and even how many times you launched enemies. Those of you that have played other Platinum Games titles will know exactly what I'm talking about, and even the ranking system here is very similar, with Pure Platinum being the absolute best rank you can get, and the Stone rank being the very worst rank you can possibly get. If you want to excel with these combat rankings, the tips I can give you are: always try and damage race, make sure that you're killing all of the enemies simply as fast as possible, and always go for launches. They tend to leave enemies vulnerable when in the air, which should play to your advantage. Other than that, do your best to not get hit, and try and go for dodges when the time is right. And what I mean by that is don't just wait around and try and farm dodges and parries, as that will just waste time that you could be using actually attacking enemies. At the end of every quest, all of your combat rankings are tallied up and averaged out, with a higher average rank providing better rewards, hopefully incentivizing players to play better. And that brings us to the final tip for this video, and that is don't be afraid to explore. It can be quite easy in Babylon's Fall to only stick to the main path in any given quest and beeline it straight to your target objectives, thus finishing the quest as quick as possible. However, there are secrets hidden around some of the different levels, so it is always in your interest to sometimes stray off the beaten path and see if that light at the end of the tunnel is just another dead end or a hidden item cache. And with that we come to the end of the video. Let me know down in the comments below your own thoughts on Babylon's Fall, or even its demo, which a demo is actually exceedingly rare to see in this day and age when it comes to recent games. But with all that said and done, it has been me, DevilNeverCry. I'd like to thank all of you for watching, and as always, I'll see you all next video.